What's up, everybody? Let's take a quick look here. Got the motor back. I got the engine back from the machine shop just the other day, and it's time to get cracking on this. So I want to get this, trying to work on it a little bit every day after work, so I could get this thing back together, so I could get it back in the car. Got more parts. So I'm not setting my goals too high today because I don't want to dive in too deep. The main thing I want to do today is get the crank in with the main cap. What I got to do with the crank, I got to clean it up a little bit. Hopefully I have some like acetone or something. I don't know if I have any, but I guess rubbing alcohol will work, isopropyl or whatever. After I set it in, torque it down, then I got to check the clearances. I have some plastic gauge for that somewhere. Yeah, got some plastic gauge for that. So, we'll throw that on, check the clearances to that. Hopefully we're in spec, and then we could get moving. We could get that in, and then we'll see. We'll see how long that takes. First, I got to throw the oil squirters in the bottom of the from the bottom side. So let's get cracking on that first. Getting really bright out. So the oil squirters are going in first. I actually got to find them around the garage somewhere. I have my little parts box with all the Ziplocs. Hopefully they're right on top. Yes, they are. So right here, I have the spec somewhere. It's in Newton meters, so I'm gonna have to actually convert it for the torque specs. We got 30 to 40 Newton meters. So type that in Google, convert it to foot pounds. That's what to throw in there. Dunk the thread in a little oil. Throw it right in. Do a fat hands. I'm just gonna do that another 5 times, and then we're gonna torque them down. It's very bright. There's a window there in the sun. I got an ARP main stud kit. I have the head stud kit also, but open this up. That's how we're gonna connect the main, connect the crankshaft and the main cap down to the block. So let me open this up. You gotta see, there should be instructions with it on what to do. I believe the studs themselves you put in hand tight, and then you gotta crank everything down. You gotta use assembly lube, gotta use the lube they give you. I do have the bearings up there in that whole part of, that whole shelf of parts. So I'm gonna have to look for those, but let me get this open. I'll start throwing the studs in and keep moving along here. Oh, we're gonna have to clean everything too. So gonna do that in a minute after I open these up. The bearings are in, and right now I'm just throwing in the studs. Just take it out when you're installing them. There's 3 longer ones. One goes on for the middle bearing guy, and then 2 all the way in the back. Alright, so you just saw me put the crank in. It's I cleaned that. The main cap, I put the bearings in, that's clean. Now it's time to put some plastic gauge on it. So the spec for this is, our clearance should be 0.02 to 0.47 millimeters. So I'm gonna use this one. I don't know if that's gonna focus. Gonna throw this on, and then we're hoping to be either, not gonna be able to see it really well. You either want it to be the fat green or the little white mark there. The fat green one is 0.025, and the white mark is 0.038. So we're gonna cut this up, throw this in on each, I guess all 7 here. Then we're gonna throw the cap on, torque it down to spec, and then remove it, check the gauge. So it's gonna take a while. There's much more in-depth how-tos of how to do this. If you search YouTube, you find it, but I'm just gonna do this quick, and then I'll come back to you. All right, so we got all the pieces on there. Now we're gonna throw the main cap on, and hold on 1 second. The main cap is, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. That's the torque sequence, and then ARP has their own instructions. And their instructions are basically lube up the thread, the little washer, the nut, and then you have to go 3 equal steps up to 60 foot-pounds. So we're probably gonna do like 30, 45, and then 60. So we're gonna go 3 passes, and then we're gonna pull it off, and hopefully our clearances are good. So let's try this out. Let's throw the bolts on. Alright, that was the first pass to 30. We're gonna step it up to 45 and then final it out with 60, and then we're gonna pull it all off, check the clearances. I did the 45, now we're up to 60. Final pass. Hopefully this whole thing doesn't spin on me. Alright, they're all down to 60. Now it's time to loosen them all up. Take it off, check clearances. So I'm gonna do that quick. I'm gonna use the breaker bar, no impact guns. Taking it off is the reverse sequence of putting it on. So just reverse it wherever you saw a 1. That's number 16, I think. So reverse everything, take it off. All right, first thing that's not going as to plan. I mean, we're still in spec, but my gap is a little bit bigger. It was supposed to be 0.02 to 0.04. Let me look at what the actual spec says for a second. The actual spec says standard value is 0.02 to 0.04. The limit is 0.09. If the measurement is over the limit value, replace the conrod bearings. I'm at, if we look on the plastic gauge, it is slightly more than 0.08, but is less than 0.51. So I'm a little closer to the 0.04 side. I'm a little bigger than that value, but I'm still in the limit. So we're just gonna send it. We're gonna run thicker oil than normal. All I gotta do is clean this thing off. I gotta make sure I clean off the piston area, and then we'll be able to send this home, and main cap and crank will be installed permanently. We're all ready to go. We're all cleaned up here. I just got to assembly lube the shit out of everything. So I'm gonna throw it all over the bearings, and then I'm gonna throw it on the crank before I put it in, and then we can throw the main on and then torque it down. All right, so lube everything up before you put the crank in, instead of trying to lift it back out because the bearings came out with it. So yeah, don't do that. All right, after everything is torqued down, everything spins very freely. I did check the thrust front and back, and that is within spec. The spec for that one is also 0.05 to 0.18 millimeters. I had the feeler gauge out, and perfect. The bearing clearances wasn't perfectly ideal, but we're still within the limit. But our thrust is dead on, so we're good with this one. So I'm done today. Next time I come out to work on the car, I will probably start assembling the pistons and rods. I'm gonna have to gap the rings, and we're gonna have to check the clearances with the rods onto the crank, just like we had to do with the mains. But it's super simple work so far. No catastrophic issues yet. We're doing good. So I want to thank you guys for joining me, putting the crank in on my motor build here. Next up should be pistons, so stick around for that. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.